think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. We've got a great show for you today. If you like, when I talk about knowledge is power, sometimes cars have power, and we're going to go down that really exciting road with another great guest today. But before we get there, I just wanted you to know that Cars in Context is all about putting cars into the context of your everyday life. You know, this is the Motor City, and so hopefully we can enlighten you a little bit, maybe educate you, and I'd sure like to entertain you as well. But we will make no apologies for our decidedly Detroit perspective. So my guest today to talk about, is this the end of the performance era? And for those of you who don't really care for performance cars, why do we even have performance cars? To answer those questions, we brought back none other than Chris Sawyer of thevirtualdriver.com. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Another great show. This is another great topic. And I think for folks who, you know, a lot of people say, John, why do we even have performance cars? I just want a car to get me to work, and I hope it gets 90 miles per gallon. But we're going to so do I. But we're going to explain to you really why we have performance cars and why it's essential really to automakers to have these kinds of cars.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very important. So both of those topics, one with the new federal fuel economy standard coming, what it means for you performance car fans, and the other is, you know, why they're necessary. But before we do that, Chris, first we have to find out what's in the news. Okay, we'll start off today. I wanted to bring some news about electrics. You know, that's been always in the headlines of late. But let's go to China for some really great electric vehicle news. Apparently, electric buses in China, the ones that we saw during the Beijing Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not working so well.
Really?
Yeah, according to a report. Now, I got this from the China Auto Web. Beijing's fleet of electric buses is having some battery problems. Imagine that, Chris. Yeah, it seems their lithium manganese batteries, which are a little different than ours, have degraded so much over like a 6-month period that they have to be all replaced. And since there was no budget to actually replace the batteries this early, they're going out of service. Some 50 of those electrified coaches were in service for the Olympics, and now over a dozen have been retired. Now the problem not only is that the batteries are dying way too early and they can't be recharged, but they only had one recharge station. Because they take so long to recharge now that it's constantly in operation. There's no money to put a new station in, so that is why they're kind of bail on some of these bus stations.
And you just see all those buses lined up one right after the other. Hey, you get out of my way!
Yeah, I want to charge.
I need to charge.
So really, the whole now you're wondering, folks, why some of the auto journalists and why when you see Cars in Context, we constantly question the future of electrified transportation. It's not as straightforward as you think. At all. So that's definitely one that we're gonna keep watching. Now, Chris, you've got one too.
Yeah, VW has become the largest employer in the global automotive industry with 520,000 people working for the company, which is 82,000 more than General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler combined. Now, through the first half of 2012, VW built 200,000 fewer vehicles than GM, yet it needed 310,000 more people to build them. Now, an MBA would tell you that that would mean that VW is very inefficient. But it wouldn't explain that why over the same time VW posted a $7.7 billion profit versus $4.6 billion for GM. So it could be that VW's corporate structure of separate companies and a group umbrella is actually more profitable than this lean, mean way of doing business in Detroit.
Wow, that is kind of scary when they have all those people, yet they can still make better profit than we can.
Well,
organizational structure. So that means now they should all just move their operations over here and start building cars in the United States?
Yeah, except that Jonathan Browning, the CEO of VW of America, said that VW is going to build a new assembly plant in North America, but it's going to be in Mexico.
Why, Chris?
Well, it says that it makes more financial sense to export the vehicles from Mexico than to build them in the United States, claiming that the U.S. is losing its luster as a place for foreign investment.
But we've already taken a pay cut. And our wages now are on par, and they're still not going to build here.
Yes, but the dollar's now worth less money.
It's that dang dollar conversation
Well,
again.
yeah, you got to wonder about the.
Now,
what the
folks, we weren't
economy's
trying
gonna
to
do.
throw you off by showing that Kia picture. We're going to bring that up in a second. But before we get there, there's another battery maker in trouble. Now, remember.
Really? No. Really?
I'm not making this up, Chris. Remember?
Not Duracell, is it?
No,
Oh,
not
good.
them. They're the wood ones. Remember I told you about the A123?
Uh-huh.
And first we said they were in trouble, then we said they went bankrupt.
Right.
Another one of those green startups. So another one is in trouble, and it's a local company as well. It's called LG Chem. And they're out in Holland, Michigan. I believe you were way back in the day. Were there when they dug ground for the plant.
Yep.
Yeah, well, those guys, now they're saying they're going to do rolling layoffs. Here's what's funny about this. They're doing rolling layoffs because don't forget that plant was started to help supplant all the supply of batteries for the Chevy Volt.
Right.
It was local. The problem is they haven't produced a single battery since groundbreaking in 2010, and yet they're already having layoffs. Chris, what is going on?
Well, what's going on there is that the Volt hasn't sold the numbers that everybody said it was going to, and anybody outside of General Motors would have told you they were never going to hit those numbers.
Yeah.
That plant may eventually be needed, but
Maybe.
it's at least 5 years in the
Maybe
future.
when the Cadillac EV comes
Oh,
along.
the ELR, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen. But again, folks, that's what happens when you pick the winners and losers. You throw some money into things before the market, the marketplace, will decide what happens. Now, Chris, I know you got one there as well.
Well, speaking of alternative power,
Okay.
a group of Japanese companies developing what could be the ultimate and reusable alternative energy for vehicles.
I'm excited already.
The idea is to turn sewage sludge into hydrogen.
Oh, that's it. I was no more exciting.
And all the bathroom humor you want here.
Yeah, I know.
They've already started testing a method to produce hydrogen from sewage, which they say is cheaper, cleaner than traditional method of generating it from liquefied natural gas or other fossil fuels.
Right.
And the process involves drying the sludge in multiple steps. I mean, this has just got so many visions going through my mind.
Doesn't sound good to me.
And then first methane is generated.
Yeah.
What a surprise there.
Yeah.
And then the methane's reheated to cook out a high concentration of hydrogen gas. And the work's being backed by Toyota, Honda, who are both planning new fuel cell vehicles in the coming years, but will probably be built by Hyundai, which plans on introducing a global hydrogen fuel cell vehicle in 2015.
Wow. So does this really have any merit? I mean, let's take the jokes aside.
I'll tell you what, hydrogen is probably the most, well, there's more hydrogen than anything in the world.
Okay.
But turning it into a fuel, it's not a fuel. It holds energy.
Right.
And you don't actually, you can burn it, you can use it in a vehicle that way, but a fuel cell vehicle, we're still a long way away from that. And I'll tell you what, we will find more oil and other fuels before we ever get to hydrogen.
I
as
truly
the #1
believe that.
fuel.
Folks, you know, remember the Detroit sludge hauling issues? If only we had known, we could have hauled this stuff away and made some money on it and sold it to Toyota. That would have been a great idea. Okay, now, Chris, I'm going to bring it. Now we can go back to our Kia picture we were showing you earlier, because this is big news for those of you who are thinking, why do the Asian manufacturers love to use American culture? Here's a new Kia, and this is the Optima. And guess what? This car is in the news because Kia is going to show us how American they are and why they're using American culture to help them peddle American cars in our market. And their new Kia Optima sedan, which is what this is, they're going to have new models of this car, and they're going to name them after, ready for this, Chris? DC Comics. That's right. The first one is going to come out as the Batman version. It's going to have, I'm not making this up, seriously. It's going to have Batman graphics and logos on the side of the car. They're going to do a Superman Kia Optima and a Green Lantern, among others. Some of the Wonder Woman for you gals out there.
Is that going to be invisible?
That's a great question, but I don't think so. So if you love the Justice League characters, Kia is going to use the iconic American, comic characters to help sell their cars.
I want the Iron Man edition.
They've got to deal with DC Entertainment. Now here's the funny thing. They're going to say that some of these proceeds are going to go toward helping fight hunger in Africa. My question is, how much more American can you get? You got American comic books, you got a charity. I mean, how perfect. Now, Toyota and Honda and Hyundai have always used American flags and music and culture icons in all their ads, and it's all an attempt. And Toyota is even going to sponsor this Martha Stewart American Made Awards. Toyota's the sponsor.
Well, at least they have plants here, yes.
So, and then that's to promote the new Avalon. So I'm just sorry, but the only way to really buy American, folks, is to follow the money. If the money goes to Korea, it's not American. If the money goes to Japan, it's not. If the money goes to the United States and stays in the United States, that's how you know you're buying American. That's the simplest method. Forget all the rest of you here, because our culture is being used against us. Or what culture?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too crazy. So, folks, that's all we have for in the news right now, but we'll be right back with the topic of the day right after this.
Thousands of your friends and neighbors enjoy music under starlit skies, rediscovering themselves every day through our classes and events. Children celebrate life here and learn all sorts of amazing things. We enrich lives in honor of veterans. Your friends and neighbors gather to honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice of all so we could live free. Don't take your war memorial for granted. Make your contribution today.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. Today, we're talking with Christopher Sawyer. Chris is the founder and editor of thevirtualdriver.com, one of the best blogs in the world on cars. Chris, welcome back again to the show.
Thanks, John.
Today's topic, I'm going to put you in the driver's seat. We're going to take over the topic, which is near and dear to my heart. Probably anybody that really likes cars loves the word performance car. The question, though, folks, is twofold. One is, why do we have performance cars? Why are American buyers kind of obsessed with having what we call a halo product in the showroom?
Mm-hmm.
For many of you buyers who don't really believe that we even need this, we're going to address that. And then we're going to go to the fact that if you are a performance car fan, this may be the end of the era, of the current performance era, much like it was back in 1973, when we all divested ourselves of big block V8s and bought little Pintos and Vegas and Gremlins.
100 horsepower Trans Ams? Come
no,
on.
the V8 choked down to no compression. And remember when you turned them off, they kept running and running and running. And we called it dieseling, but it wasn't.
Well,
diesel.
yeah. We wish they were diesel.
Those issues now are facing us where smaller compression, smaller actually displacement is going to be the norm.
Absolutely.
So first of all, let's tackle the first question, folks. I know that you are thinking, okay, why do we even bother? Why are Americans, unlike the Europeans, and we're going to get into that, they really do love their performance cars. But why do American car companies and some of the bigger players over here all have a halo product? First of all, Chris, let's talk about what's a halo product.
Well, it's not one from the Angels, but it's a product.
Doesn't have the little ring around there.
It's a product that has more performance. Really, it's a car that says this is what we could build. This is the engineering technology that we have, and this is coming to your car. Look at what we can do.
Yeah, and then I think it's important to realize that halo products are the ones that you want to generate excitement in.
Right.
So let's say you're interested in a little sporty sedan, and you go in there and you look at the sport model, and then you realize, well, do I need this? The fancy wheels, the more horsepower, and maybe they drag you in because you saw all about the sport model, but you drive out with the standard model. That's the idea of it. Casts a halo, some heavenly aspect, some draw onto their standard products that wouldn't normally make you go into the showroom.
Right.
So it's important for everyone to kind of have some excitement in that showroom. Otherwise, it would be like an appliance store.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, an appliance store, and I don't want to drive an appliance. Thank you very much.
No.
Nor does anybody else. I mean, a car says a lot about who you are. And if you have a halo car, you've got some of that rubbed off on you. So even if you go in for a Focus ST and you drive out with a Fiesta, you've got a little bit of that rubbed off on you. Yeah.
Now, for those of you who love appliances, and you love to go into Lowe's or Sears or Home Depot and you buy your appliances, that's great and wonderful. But for car people, the people really that buy a car not just to get them from point A to point B.
Yeah, but there are halo appliances too.
That's true. They're the big, why
absolutely.
are people buying the big commercial grade 5-burner, 6-burner? So they don't need that.
No.
Do they need it?
It's because image. It says,
it's
hey,
cool.
I'm cool.
Or the stainless steel double door, Dutch door with the bottom free. Do they need that?
No, not at
But
all.
they're buying these high-end appliances and putting granite countertops in because they want to show how cool they are. Well, ditto for instead of the 6-cylinder Mustang, I'm going to get a Shelby GT500 with 662 horsepower and a supercharger. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Now, a car like this that we're showing on the screen, Chris, let's face it, who needs 662 horsepower in a supercharged V8? Now, why would we sell a car like this in today's day and age?
Nobody needs it, but I'll tell you what, I was interviewing the people from Ricardo one day, and the head of the Ricardo Fuel Economy Task Force was a woman who said, we need performance cars, and let me tell you why. Performance cars are the ones that you find out how to get the efficiency out of the motor. And you try all those things on it. You look at the flame front, you look at the fuel flow, you look at all of those things. And all of that stuff comes down the line to all of the other cars. You learn it there, you apply it elsewhere. That's really what they're all about.
It's, in fact, the bottom line is that these are old hot rodding tricks. How did we get these incredible fuel economy numbers out of our cars in the last 5 or 6 years? Because we're applying hot rodding tricks, better airflow, better air management, better combustion, all these things what hot rodders used to do by changing camshafts and intake manifolds. They're actually using tricks to extract more power out of the engine. Well guess what? When you extract more power, you extract better fuel economy.
And now we got the electronics to make it work.
Yeah, on top of everything else.
Absolutely.
That's right.
But you know, the other side of it is, though, that between now and 2016, there's not really going to be much of a change. From 2016 to 2025, depending on who gets elected president, and if the CAFE standards go through the way they are now, 54.4 miles per gallon is a fleet average. Right now, there are no cars out there that get 54.4 miles per gallon.
At all.
At all.
Not even a mini cars.
But the dirty little secret of all of this is that actually they do. Because they're measuring this based on the old fuel economy standards, not the ones that are on the sticker in the window. Right. So remember those Datsun Sunnies that got 50 miles per gallon? Well, you're going to see them again.
Geo Metros.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The 3 cylinders.
You're going to see a lot of 3 cylinders. You're going to see 2 cylinders. Oh. You're going to see twins in cars. Fiat's already got one called the Twin Air that's in the 500
What
in
kind
Europe.
of displacement are we talking about?
900 cc's.
Come
I think.
on.
No, I'm serious. You're going to have motorbike engines in
Usually
these
2
cars.
liters, folks, in Europe, what they did, they've tried this, how many, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, to reduce the V8 population and say, well, everybody over 2 liters, for example, has
get
to
taxed.
Get taxed. And so they basically the market didn't go away for performance cars and fun cars and cars that they loved. It was the government penalized you to the point where you couldn't afford to drive what you love, so you had to drive what they didn't tax. Now, I don't know about you, but 2 liters, we drink that here. That's a Kroger.
I just drove one of the nicest 2 liters, a Focus ST, just last week, and we're talking a car that does 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds and tops out at 154. That's fine.
That's for a 2-liter engine.
Yeah, it's got enough. It's got power that you used to get in a V8.
Yeah.
And you're going to see an awful lot of that. There's going to be a 3-cylinder Focus coming that's got 123 horsepower. And that engine was a riot because it had all this personality. But here's what's really going on. Are we going to see a European model here where only the upper crust gets the performance? I don't think so. Instead, you're going to be getting more horsepower per liter, but you're also going to be getting a reversal of the trend towards heavier vehicles.
Okay.
And you're going to see 700 pounds come out on average of the fleet of vehicles. And that's going to be a lot more aluminum, a lot more lightweight steel, and the start of carbon fiber. Right. Cars are going to get longer wheelbases for their overall length. Doesn't mean the wheelbase will necessarily get larger, but that the overall length will get smaller because overhangs are going to be smaller. Now, less weight means more performance. You're also going to get electronics. And it's going to be a trick that the Department of Defense used, where they wanted to put all this stuff on airplanes, but they couldn't get them off the ground if they'd put all this stuff on it. So they said, software, that's the answer. Imagine in the next 10 years, this is what you're going to see. A CD and DVD player, gone. Nav system, gone. Radio receiver, gone. It's all going to be on a Wi-Fi hub in your car, and it's going to be streamed directly to your vehicle. And you're going to be able to buy apps and say, I want this on my car, but I don't want that. It's going to be sort of like Apple takes over your car. And that's going to drop an awful lot of weight. But by 2025, most of the vehicles are going to be 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder. A lot are going to be 2-cylinder in the lower end. You're going to see some V6s. It's going to be in the 2-liter to 3-liter range.
Okay.
Everything's going to be direct injected, turbocharged, variable valve timing. You're going to still have V8s, but you're going to see different V8s. 5-liter is going to be the max.
Yeah, you can't go bigger than that.
But when you see a 5-liter V8, you're going to get a bunch of different versions of it. You're going to get the one that's direct, like now, the Mustang motor, which is a really nice motor. That's going to pretty much be the norm. Overhead cams, all that sort of stuff, direct injected. But you're then going to see the version that's got dual displacement. Can run as a 4-cylinder or as an 8-cylinder. And 4 of those cylinders, half the time, are going to be running as an air hybrid, where that's going to be getting a much better fuel economy. Then you're going to see the direct injected turbo motor, and you're still going to see 500-600 horsepower. Thank you very much, which is fine for me. But in the middle of the market, the mid-size car, weight is going to start coming down so hard and so fast that the middle-sized car, which is now getting to be about 3,500 pounds, is going to lose almost 1,000 pounds of weight. Right. It's going to be somewhere between 2,500 and 3,100 pounds. It's going to have a 3 or a 4-cylinder engine. The 4-cylinder will be much like the one you have now in the Focus ST. It'll be really turbocharged. It'll be run into within an inch of its life.
Right.
You're also going to have electric motors and batteries. Batteries are going to be sandwiched into the floor pan. So it'll be an integral part of the car. And you'll have the electric motor driving the rear wheels, so you'll have all-wheel drive on demand when you need it, but you'll also be able to use that electric motor for an electric turbo boost when you're accelerating. Wow. So I really think that we're going to see cars that are going to be able to produce 6 seconds 0 to 60 times, 150 mile an hour top speeds, and get the 50 miles per gallon, maybe not on the window sticker, that they need to get for the EPA CAFE standards.
Right.
And one downturn about the whole thing is it could be really expensive.
Yeah, well, I really have to bring that up. You know, folks, we just got inside the crystal ball of the future. And you weren't even Conan O'Brien with a dome in the year 2000. That is really the future of where we're going with performance. But there's the issue, and therein lies the rub. Okay, so we have the ability now. It's not like they're legislating this and we're saying, oh no, we can't do it. Let's just choke ourselves down.
You give engineers enough time, they can do anything.
Because we have a little bit of lead time. But the question is now, okay, we're going to have some performance, but how far can we keep pushing this up market? Folks, if you used to think that these things were unobtainable, with the 5 liters and the little V8 performance cars that you could have and have some fun with, even in small trucks, the question we have to ask ourselves, is it really going to be performance becomes the appetite only for the elite? Only for those with money?
We will see a different kind of performance. And beyond just that sort of stuff, as the cars become lighter, you're going to find that the performance will drop off a little bit, but you'll have performance derivatives, always have performance. You're going to have performance hybrids, for God's sake. You're going to have performance EV cars. There's no way around it because people want that. And no matter what the government says and what they keep telling you, we got to get the CO2 down because, well, you know, some penguin has died in the Antarctic.
Yep. That's all our fault, by the way. I can't sleep at night.
Absolutely everything is our fault.
I don't sleep at night because
and
of
I
it.
keep wondering how it is we could have 1,400 parts per million of CO2 and, you know, way in the 1700s and there were no SUVs.
Yeah, we weren't even on the Earth and the Ice Age melted the...
Well, yeah.
How did that happen?
It was 1,432 parts per million in the Little Ice Age.
If only there were a caveman Al Gore.
Exactly.
Anyway, no, that
would be ugly, actually.
So the bottom line we have to think about is, okay, all right, we're going to get some performance. This fuel economy standard, unless something happens with the EPA, you know, these people, you did not vote these people into office to protect you. You voted in your congressman and your senator to make these decisions for you.
And these people have decided
well,
what
these
they
bureaucrats have basically are going to tell you what you're going to be driving and what your sons and daughters went off to war to be free for, so that they can make decisions for you. Kind of an unnerving thing, but the law is the law, and the big 3 are going to lead the charge like usual. People don't understand. They say, "Oh, the big 3 wanted us to buy SUVs." That's the biggest pile of. Remember when we were writing for the magazines, they used to say before you used the SUV acronym, you had to say before the hyphenated gas guzzling SUV.
Oh, yes.
Because the big 3 wanted you to buy gas. No, they didn't, folks. You wanted a gas guzzling SUV. We wanted SUVs. This is what we wanted.
You don't buy anything you don't want.
No, I mean the market determines what we want. The big 3 or any other smart automaker, it cannot stay in business making things you don't want.
Exactly.
You'll go out of business. So bottom line now, Chris, okay, so we're going to get performance. It may be A, higher tech, which means B, more expensive, which means C, fewer of us will have access to it.
But here's the kicker in all of this. Right now, there is one country that has the absolute lead in terms of oil, natural gas, coal, all energy types.
How could we possibly catch them?
It's the United States.
Oh.
We just don't look for it right now because this administration has shut it down.
We need to start using our own resources?
Absolutely. We're sitting between us, Canada, and Mexico. We are sitting on 1.4 trillion barrels of achievable oil. That's with known technologies. That could be as high as 3 trillion barrels.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line is, folks, we can live our lives as prosperous as we can when only we have the money to raise our standard of living.
And we're going to get this technology.
I hope we do.
But let's bring it in as it's cost effective. Let's not force it.
Right. Let the
where people
marketplace
can't
decide.
afford it.
You know, and we will make smart decisions because A, we want to be able to afford it for everybody. Cars shouldn't go back to the way they were at the turn of the century, which were only for the ultra-rich and elite, and everybody else had to take the trolley system. Chris, again, really enlightening stuff. We're going to watch this closely because we're going to see at the Detroit Auto Show and the Auto Show coming up in the 2013 circuit, the kinds of performance cars. The cars are going to go on a diet. We're going to have to go on a diet, folks, too, because we're getting heavier.
Funny you should say that because they're saying now that the weight that we're putting on is actually negating all of the weight gains, savings that they've made. So,
no.
Yeah.
See what we're doing? We're ruining the engineer's work.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks again, Chris. We really love that topic, but you know what? It's already time for Pride in My Ride.
Cool.
Okay, so this week's Pride in My Ride. Now this is a special story because as we're talking about performance cars, this guy has a Boss 302, a new Mustang. It's in that grabber blue. His name is Mike Pekoski. Mike lives in a place called Northumberland, Pennsylvania. He caught our show first on thevirtualdriver.com, and then now he follows us on our Cars in Context TV YouTube channel and loves Cars in Context. Wanted to show us that he was in Detroit this past summer for the Mustang Memory Show behind Ford World headquarters in Dearborn. Took a picture of his car. There is his Boss 302, which he's an owner who used to be a drag racer. He's got a couple of drag cars and collector cars. But Chris, this guy's going to drive the wheels off this because he said this kind of car wasn't meant to be put in a plastic bag. This kind of car is meant to be driven every day, and he's going to drive it as a daily driver.
All I can say is, God bless you.
So Mike Pekoski of Northumberland, PA, thanks for your submission to Pride in My Ride. If you have a car that you have pride in and you want to show the rest of the world on Cars in Context, send a picture, a JPEG to me, John Clor, at carsincontext.com with a brief description of why you have pride in your ride, and we'll be sure to air it on the next edition of Cars in Context. But you know, that's not all, Chris. It's time for, guess what?
Oh, no.
Yes, viewer mail. Lauren Parrott, do we have any viewer mail to tell the audience about?
Yes, you do.
Oh, boy. Again, we got viewer mail. Thank you, audience.
Thank you, Lauren.
This is great. Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Lauren, our wonderful stagehand, has brought in a viewer mail for this time, and here's one that comes from Betty M. of Grosse Pointe Woods. Betty watches WMTV on Comcast Cable 9, Channel 915. That means she's getting it in HD. Ooh. And here's the question. Hello, John. I liked your show about car care, but was hoping you'd be doing more of them. I have many questions about auto service shops. When can we see more? The answer, Betty, is you will be seeing more. Both Chris and Joe Babiez and a few other guests, we're going to be talking about this a lot. So if car care is a concern, we're definitely bringing it your way. Just stay tuned to Cars in Context. Chris, do you have any letters?
Yes, this one comes from Joe S. of Harper Woods, who watches WMTV on WOW Cable Channel 10.
Wow,
All I have to say is, wow. He said, Dear Chris, saw your show on self-driving cars and wanted to know if you thought adopting this technology would eventually lead to forcing all car owners to either give up personal driving or perhaps switch over to public transportation like subways for the majority of commuters.
That's a good question.
Well, yeah, and I've covered this a couple of times on thevirtualdriver.com. Go to the opinion analysis page and you can go down and find it. Ultimately, that's the idea of what a lot of people do want. Those in the government think that we shouldn't have a personal transportation because a populace that can't go where they want to go, when they want to go, is easy to control. Yep. The other side of it also is that people are not paying attention when they're driving and they're looking for things to do. Yeah. They're doing everything but driving, and so these will save a lot of things. There's a lot of technology out there that's really cool, really great, will save a lot of lives. But personally, I want to drive my own car.
Me too. We all want to drive here on Cars in Context. Well, Chris, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, John.
Enjoyed it. You can catch Chris Sawyer on thevirtualdriver.com, and you can catch us on another episode of Cars in Context. Remember, knowledge is power. So until next time, I'm your host, John Clor. Thanks for watching.